Okay.
Thank you very much, Cathaoirligh. And first of all, I just want to commend my colleague, Minister Francis Fitzgerald, for bringing this transformational proposed referendum before us. But I also want to, I think, commend everybody in this House because there is huge cross-party support for this amendment, and indeed also the civil society groups that are very strong and forceful with regard to supporting the amendment and the rights of children. And I think it is crucial that that support is there. And I think, however, that it's also important that we do have a full debate in the airwaves and in the media with regard to this issue. And I would certainly share Minister Noonan's concern that he pointed to earlier, that the media should provide for a full debate and should not, because of the certain constraints that are there in terms of balance, that should not stop them from airing and discussing this issue, because it's a hugely important issue for democracy, but particularly for the welfare of our children. And it's important that we just don't simply think that this will be nodded through and therefore that it shouldn't be fully debated. It must be fully debated. And I'd also like to commend all those who've participated in the various committees that have discussed this issue and have discussed wording over a period of time and brought this to fruition. It is essentially happened and is coming to the fore today after a lot of debate, a lot of discussion, and I suppose a lot of recognition of what's happened in the past. I think it's since Catherine McGuinness's report, it goes back to, I think there have been 17 reports since the original Kilkenny incest report, and we've all been struck by the appalling way in which many of our children in this country have been treated in the past. The one that stuck most in my mind was the story of Sophia McColgan and what happened in her family, and the fact that, you know, despite the fact that various agencies of the state were involved with the family, that it took so long for intervention. And this referendum will be absolutely changing what happens in this country from then on and from now on. You know, we have now and will have in the discussion of this referendum and in the action that will be able to be forthcoming should the people decide in favour of it, we will have a real change for the future. It's about building a system of protection for the future that gives every child in the state, particularly vulnerable children, the opportunity to have a nurturing, secure childhood. It's about changing attitudes to children so that they're seen and heard and that their views have weight and consequence. And it's about enshrining in our Constitution a vision of children as citizens entitled to and recognised as having inherent rights that must be vindicated. And I think the principle also that their voices should be heard age appropriately, I think that is extremely important as well. I think it's also, though, important to stress, because we don't want to have the debate distorted in any way by what isn't in the proposed wording. The role of the family is still central, and Article 41 is not being interfered with in that sense, and I think it's important to know that. But also, there are, in a small minority of cases, dangers to the safety and welfare of children, and this amendment will provide the state with the authority to intervene in such cases in clearly defined circumstances. And again, you know, there are huge safeguards and balances, and there's proportionality in all of this, and again, that is crucial. I just want to refer briefly to the proposed Article 2.2. This important reform addresses a current lacuna in Bunreacht na hÉireann, which currently doesn't refer to the circumstances where adoption will be provided for in law. Particularly in terms of foster parents adopting a child, the current test is extremely arduous, and as such we have a very low number of children in foster care who are adopted, and I think the Minister referred to just 16 cases in 2011 and 2010. And we already know that there are over 2,000 children who are more than 5 years with the one foster family and haven't so far been able to be adopted. The proposed wording will allow the Oireachtas to debate and pass a new Adoption Act. And again, I commend Minister Fitzgerald for publishing the draft Adoption Amendment Bill in tandem with the referendum wording, so that citizens will be able to see very clearly what are going to be the constitutional and legislative reforms that will flow from a positive vote on November the 10th. I think also it's fair to point out, and Deputy Boyd Barrett referred to the wider range of issues that relate to children and the importance of protecting children. But this amendment is just one measure, albeit perhaps the most important one, in the government's reform agenda in the area of child protection. Reform through the passing of the Withholding of Information Act and the publication of the Children First and National Vetting Bureau legislation is ongoing. The new Child and Family Support Agency, independent of the HSE, will ensure that the principles enshrined in the constitutional amendment will become a reality in the lives of thousands of children in this country. And I think my time is nearly up, but just to conclude by saying I believe that the forthcoming campaign will be beneficial for democracy. It will allow citizens to focus on the future of our children, an issue that is central to any democratic society, but sadly an issue that has been neglected too often in the past. And I believe that this referendum will mark a new start in the welfare and protection of children and the cherishing of childhood. And this debate in this House today is the commencement of that. But again, as I said at the start, I believe that we do need to engage our citizens, to engage the public in this. And that's why I hope we will have a full debate in this House, but also outside of this House in the broader public.